Hey, what's up, trash talkers? What's going on, Gruntworks Nation? And anybody on our YouTube channel that's chiming in, I just want to say thank you, because this show, the fifth principle of patrolling, is actually the #1 watch show on our YouTube channel. And yeah, it's no surprise, because Buddy and I are the talent of Veteran Trash Talk. All right, so it was just a matter of time before we branched off and just took over.
We don't have Dave here being silent.
Yeah, Dave being silent until we start talking
Dave.
too much, and he tells us to be quiet.
It's with his liberal, no common sense, no fifth principle. You know what? He didn't go to Ranger School. That's why he doesn't know anything about the fifth principle.
And he'll make up a bunch of excuses, but the truth of the matter is he knew that, because when he was in the infantry, they still graded on the 5 principles of patrolling, and he knew that he would not pass because
maybe the problem, Nick, was that he was injured and he just couldn't perform well.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think.
Let me tell you, by the way, that Facebook post you put up today, that hit a little close to home.
I
don't know what Alabama fans you're talking about.
It's not just Alabama fans.
Because if they are, they shouldn't be.
So Go ahead. Talk about Alabama. I didn't want to bring it up.
As an Alabama fan, I will tell you that although I did not get to watch the game last night, I listened to it on the radio, 1937 style, like AM radio. It was it's great. Like at some point you have to temper your standard. Like if your standard is that if you go to a national championship game, you have to win. The fact is, like the last 10 years has been Clemson, Alabama, or Georgia, Alabama. Like let's just be happy that we've got a really, it might have a little bit too much salt in the soup this year, but it's really good soup. You know what I mean? Nick knows how to make some soup.
Yeah. And I watched the game. I bet on it. I actually came out ahead plus $15, which isn't good, because I most of my money was on Alabama. All right. However, I threw a big bet on the under, which was 52, and it was 51 total. So I lucked out on that one. And then I had a small little parlay on Georgia and the under, just to kind of hedge my bet. So I ended up coming out about plus 15. Not a big deal. Now, I will give a lot of credit to the Georgia defenders, right? Because in that game, Alabama had 3 big plays, and a lot of teams probably would have let those guys coast into the end zone, but all 3 times somebody was on their horse going, 22 miles an hour, catches the guy at the 5-yard line. All 3 of those times, they didn't score a touchdown, and 1 field goal got blocked. So those guys are a perfect example to any kid in grade school or high school playing football that says, you don't think this tackle 60 yards downfield matters? Yes, it does.
Let's talk about the Alabama player that just kind of grabbed up that fumble, not knowing that it was an actual fumble, but still went after the ball, kept his feet in.
Kept his foot in. Phenomenal.
And the common sense part, since we're on the fifth principle anyway, I saw a couple people that were apparently not fans of the greatest football conference that college football has ever seen.
It's not ever.
Shouldn't have to say it, but I'm going to say it. The SEC.
The Ivy League is.
The SEC. Anyway, so
who has more national titles, the Ivy League or the SEC?
I'm really tired of watching these title games. They don't score anything. They're real low scoring, and it's always SEC teams. They need to pick somebody else. Well, not a huge deal, guys. There are 4 people in those playoffs. 2 of them didn't make it, and they weren't SEC teams, and they got spanked in their games. So
I would have liked to see. I did not want to see Cincinnati in there. I wanted to see, and then Alabama screwed that up by winning. No, but you just look at the talent that Utah has.
No, right? I got it. You know why I like seeing that Cincinnati was in there? Because the year that Central Florida was good, and they kept, we are undefeated, we're great, and we're all this. But you're Central Florida. Your schedule, you're not playing the caliber of teams that everyone else is playing. It's a different level of football playing in whatever it is, whatever conference that Cincinnati.
Yeah, like a Mid-American conference.
Yeah. You're not playing against the same talent.
It's kind of like why Georgia got smacked in the mouth the first time they played Alabama, because the SEC actually wasn't that strong this year. All right. Their bowl record showed it, right? They went 0-6, their first 6 teams in bowls, right? And then so when Georgia finally played
Tennessee
Alabama,
when Tennessee got robbed.
So I'll give you 1-5. All right. So
yeah, and I don't even like Tennessee. They got robbed.
So
all right.
So Georgia plays Alabama the first time, and it's like, oh, this is a real team. Right. And it's like, and then they had their whole little epiphany, and then they were able to get it together. Now, here's where this fits into the fifth principle, is where you have the math, right? Cincinnati is undefeated. Okay. So the math supports them being in the playoff. But now we have to go to the fifth principle. Now we have to go to logic. And you cannot tell me that Cincinnati is better than Utah. You cannot tell me that Cincinnati is better than Ohio State. Right? You just can't. Those teams have legitimate first-round draft picks on them. Right? So like those guys would have put up a fight, probably wouldn't have won, but they would have put up a fight. And if the ball bounced a certain way, like the guys on Utah could play, right? They can. And and they're in the Pac-12. It's a bigger conference.
Well,
but
and common sense wise, I'm not a detractor from people that say that there need to be more teams in the playoffs. I think most bowls don't matter, and you can make them matter by making the playoffs a little bit bigger. I do think that it is there's at some point there's a loss of when you've got all of those bowl games and people playing as hard as people play for a championship for 4 games, 5 games, 6 games. You're going to get a lot more injuries, especially with college players that are trying to prove themselves to go to the next level.
Sure.
Their motivation isn't about the motivation for the Super Bowl is the ring and, the bonuses that they get for the Super Bowl. That's a different type of motivation than a 22-year-old who's trying to be an NFL player, who's going to put everything out there to try to get to that level. And I think that at some point, minimizing the amount of games where they're putting that much effort in is going to save players. But I can see having another bracket, maybe.
Sure.
One bracket.
Yeah, and it would be more money, and that could be a whole other show. We could talk about that as well, as where these players opt out of playing. And then what kind of spurred my post today wasn't about Alabama. It was about some of the pro comments where the playoffs are starting now, and they're talking about how, you're going to play this team and we're healthy now, not like we were during the season. I'm like, these are NFL teams. If you don't have a front office and GM that has built a team that can handle some injuries, then your GM failed. You can't use that as an excuse. Now I got it. You lose a superstar like Aaron Rodgers goes out, Patrick Mahomes goes out. Right.
You got a guy that accidentally throws his shoulder pads off and leaves the field.
Yeah. Antonio Brown. He said he got cut. All right. So he said he didn't quit. But whatever. And I had to rewatch the hit again when he did that about 6 years ago. Vontez Perfect, like almost put him in the hospital. And ever since that hit, he has never been the same. Ever. And it's a vicious hit. 25 years ago, 25 years ago would have been legal, right? But it's not legal anymore, and that's why. Because
here's the deal. Here's the deal. Say what you want to say. I've never been hit by an NFL player, but I can imagine that if you were to get like the wood really laid on you by an NFL player,
by a
linebacker, full speed, that just laid it on you, I probably wouldn't play the same anymore either.
So let's talk about it, because why not? And you have Peyton Manning's Place is a great show to watch, right? He interviews a lot of the Hall of Famers and stuff like that, and he was interviewing Ray Lewis, and he's like, dang it, Ray, he's like, I always had trouble with you, because at some point in your career you switched to a brain on the field. And not only were you an absolute monster physically, now you're smart. And he's like, and Ray's like, yeah, I learned that from you. I realized that if I'm going to beat you in the AFC, I got to get just as smart as you. And so they brought up a play. It's the Ravens playing Tampa Bay years ago. And the receiver was Brett Perryman. And Ray Lewis is like, watch right here. When Perryman goes out to the slot, I know exactly what play is coming. And watch me audible the defense here. I do that, shift the coverage over. And he's like, so I got two options here. I can intercept this pass and take it for a touchdown because I know exactly where the quarterback's going with it, or I can wreck the game. And he's like, and I can wreck Perryman so that Perryman never runs that route again this game. And he's like, I chose option 2. And the pass comes over the middle, and Ray Lewis just annihilates him. And he goes, they might call that play again, but guess who isn't running that route fast? Perryman's not. He's not coming here again. And then Peyton Manning goes, yeah, I call you a game wrecker. Like, you just took like 3 plays out of our playbook because that receiver is not going over the middle the rest of the game. Like,
do you ever see that that there's a snippet of Ocho Cinco thinking that he was going to earhole Ray Lewis? He hit Ray Lewis and he took the brunt of that hit. And then he walks off the field like, man, I tried to hit Ray. That didn't work out.
And he was mic'd up too. It was mic'd up too. Yeah,
he definitely was not using the 5th principle.
No common sense, none whatsoever. And then they did the sports science. They did the math on Ray Lewis. If you give Ray Lewis a 5-yard head start and he hits you with just a 5-yard head start, it's like going 60 miles an hour in a car to 0.
Yeah.
To 0, like stop, 0, 60 miles an hour, stop.
Yeah.
That's how hard he hit you. And it was like, that's with a 5-yard head start. Imagine if he had 10 yards, like, oh God. Like,
it's amazing thinking about the amount of, like, because you see, like, we see guys that are, 175, 180 pounds, and they're fast. But there are dudes in that league that are 300 pounds that are that fast.
Yeah, they run sub 540s.
Yeah, that shouldn't be legal.
It's not legal.
You watch them walking around on the sideline and you're just like, where did people like you come from? The only other place I've seen people like that were at Sears School.
Oh, the instructors.
The instructors there are all monsters.
Yeah. And I'll pat myself on the back because this is a good thing I love about the Army. We could do another show on this where we talk about everybody's what I did in high school stories.
Yeah.
And whenever you hear somebody say I was this good at football or that, I could have played D1 at this, that, or that. I was like, hey, look, man, I'm 6'3", 215 pounds. All right, I played NAIA receiver.
Yep.
All right, I ran a 4.6, which is pretty quick. Right, especially for my size. I was like, you have no idea how big college football players are. Like, and I go, and if you run below a 4.5, you're playing Division I somewhere, unless you like murdered somebody and can't spell your own name.
And you're probably going to go to JUCO until they can teach you and get your record expunged, and then you can.
Like, you literally have no idea just how fast that is. Like, and it's and you'll. Again, I'm like, what do you think a 6'3", 215 pound guy plays in college? Yeah, receiver. Like that, like that's small. That's small.
Have you seen? Look at those tight ends. Like, dude, look at the tight ends at the Alabama-Georgia game.
Yes, the monsters.
What's wrong with you people? Like, where do creatures like people think Sasquatch doesn't exist? Bullshit. They play for both Alabama and Georgia, and they got good hands.
Yeah, and I will give Alabama. They lost their number 1 receiver in the game with that knee injury, and I was happy to see that he walked back out of the locker room. Now, here's the thing: if he was in the NFL, he probably comes back in the game, right? Yeah. But to see him walking out without a walking cast on means that it was probably just a hyperextension, and then hopefully it's his career is solid because that he's unreal. He's a first round draft.
Yeah. Jameson Winston is good.
Yeah. And so I mean, at least he's healthy. But let's get into it real quick.
Let us get into it.
So as military members, we've traveled around the country, traveled around the world. Everybody thinks that this state or that their state has the worst drivers, the best drivers, but that doesn't necessarily fall under the 5th principle. So I have a driving tale here in Texas, specifically El Paso, that every stoplight you're at, and this triggers me. Like I get mad, I honk, I yell, I flash brights, and like you do everything you can to not be behind somebody at a stoplight, because it's a 98% chance that when that light turns green, it sits there for at least 4 to 5 seconds. And you're sitting here like, and now again, this doesn't violate the fifth principle yet. Okay. This doesn't. It's just, I would be really happy if they were looking at their phone. All right. I actually would be happy, because that's an excuse.
I was going to go with that as what they were doing.
No, that's an excuse, right? Like, I wasn't paying attention. Okay. I'm going to drive off. Okay. You just suck. Okay. You're just inconsiderate, like whatever. But literally it's just they just sit there. And then guess what they do? This is what violates the fifth principle. They gas it, right? They go like 30, because they feel bad, right? So they go like 30 miles an hour through the intersection. And I go, so here's where it violates the fifth principle. Do you think that helps the guy who is 6 cars back? Okay.
It's kind of like it's kind of like a division run.
Yeah, exactly. He's still not making the light. No matter how fast you go now, you just screwed that guy 4 or 5 cars back. Like, you might have triggered him for the whole day. And like, oh, like that.
I will go with one that's even worse, is when you're not the 6 car back. When you're the 6 car back, and there's a larger intersection, and the 5th car stops at the line instead of pulling out into the intersection,
like
so
turning left.
So that you can go left when the light turns yellow, so that you can actually get through, because they're trying to be, I don't know what they're doing, but it drives me absolutely insane. And it's not just a Texas thing, I don't think. Well, we don't have that issue with people in their green lights.
Again, we're not getting mad at people for making a mistake, right? We're not getting mad at people for maybe just not paying attention. Like you
have a culture of
right, exactly,
poor driving down
right, there. Exactly. And you know what? Maybe it's because I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who wouldn't pass the fifth principle. And that's okay, because we know there's a lot of people that wouldn't. So I just think that, there's people in this area of the country, Western Texas, and maybe all of Texas. I don't know. Texas is huge, right? So like maybe West Texas, they're like, it could be like aloha time in Hawaii, where they're just not in a rush, and that's okay. And I could buy that, but then they gas it. They know they screwed up, and it's like, you didn't. Now you're showing me how dumb you are. I'm starting to get triggered. And so I got into an argument with a major the other day on base on Fort Bliss, right? And I'm a road soldier. I'm retired on active duty, so I don't wear like a uniform anymore. And it's whatever. And I almost missed the stop sign because I wasn't paying attention, right? And so I kind of rolled through it right by the gate to the hospital, right? And then of course this guy wants to pull up to me. And then he actually follows me into the parking lot where I'm just going to get my prescriptions, and he comes out and he's like, "Hey, young man." And I look at him and I realize I'm older than he is, and he's like,
that would have gotten me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Young man comment would have been like,
so I was like, "How's it going, sir?" And he's like, "You rolled through that stop sign." And I go, yeah, I wasn't paying attention and I almost missed it. And he was like, "Well, you need to be more careful." I go, "Answer me something here, sir." And he's like, "What's that?" I go, "Are you telling me right now that you're 100% right on at all times? Like at all times, you are locked in, ready to go. There has never been a time where you just kind of looked off at the beautiful mountains in the background." And he goes, "Jesus." He just starts like shaking his head. I go, "I'm sorry. Okay, are we good?" And he's like, "Where do you work?" I work at the Sergeant Major's Academy. And he's like, "Oh, okay, never mind." And he walks away. So like, why did you have to come talk to me? I wasn't violating the fifth principle. I was just an idiot at that point in time. Like I wasn't paying attention.
Well, not only that, but you're like, "Yeah, I missed it."
Yeah,
bad.
Dude, yeah,
got it. Like,
it would have been, the morons that I'm talking about driving would have ran through the stop sign, stopped and backed up to stop at it again. It's like,
Yeah.
that's like,
They got it right. It caused more of a problem.
Caused
than
more
if-
of a problem.
than if they had just run the stop sign completely.
Ugh.
Yeah. Well, see, we have kind of the same issue here in Tennessee, except for our issue is that we have some of the most ridiculous, like there's no reason they should be dangerous. There's no reason that the roads should be dangerous in and around Clarksville, Tennessee, but they are. Like, granted, there are like, I don't know, privates get paid a lot more than I got paid, because there are some dudes here with some just really fast cars. Most of them have crashed up front bumpers, but they're really fast until they get to the scene of the accident that they're in. But like there, and then 24 is the interstate that runs west to east here, and it's a straight road. There's some curves on it, but I've never seen a road that could get that clogged up because somebody has a fender bender. But the reason that it gets so clogged up, and then the other, like, there's a 5-lane road that runs right down the middle of town that gets like backed up for miles. But it gets backed up because somebody will have a fender bender, like just a minor, like even if the car like turns sideways and is blocking 2 of the lanes, they just sit there. We're just gonna sit there. We gotta wait on the cops. We can't just like move your car. Like, can you crank it? Can you crank the car? Can you move it to the side of the road? We don't have to have like Columbo and the cast of CSI to come and figure out that you ran into him.
Like, somebody has to go through this car with a black light.
Screwed up. The back of your car is screwed up. Pull over to the parking lot, get your insurance information changed out, and let's continue with business. That's just common sense. We don't need to block everyone trying to get to work because you were looking at your cell phone instead of driving. Like, like, and that's it. They got to figure out what happened. Are there skid marks? No. Well, that's because you were you were looking down.
You were going 5 miles an hour, and or you were going 40 and you didn't stop at all. Yeah. Like, And so if anybody watching this show for the first time, we're not judging these people for getting into an accident. Right?
I am. I'm judging them.
Not for getting into an accident.
Oh, no, not for getting into an accident.
Right?
It happens.
So it happens. Yeah, it happens. And like, just like the previous shows, we talk about, like, how unvaccinated are hurting the vaccinated.
If they never happened, they would be called on purposes.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's another thing we get into as well. I was arguing with somebody who has not been to Ranger School, who's an officer, so that's even worse. And he didn't like the first reversal of the fumble call in the game. And I'm watching the game before he texts me, and as soon as they showed the replay, I'm watching it with my wife, and I was like, "That's incomplete pass."
Yeah.
Like I have zero stake in this game other than gambling. I don't care, right? Like, I'm not a Bama or Georgia fan. I'm like, really, by the rules, it's an incomplete pass.
Right.
And my officer friend goes, "He didn't intend to throw that." I go,
"How do you judge his intent? He's on a football field and he's a quarterback."
I go, are we going to start reviewing brainwaves now? Like, what? Like, we need to brain chip these guys so we can actually see if they wanted to throw it, right? Like regardless if the guy had a seizure and vomited and then like just threw it over his head, like it's a forward pass.
It goes back to it's like the water boy. I want you to fake left. No,
I want you to think about faking left.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah, it doesn't matter if he was. Officers seem to not really follow that 5th principle a lot, anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're not paid to. They're paid to put the first 4 or 5 principles of patrolling, and then to rely on the NCO to add the 5th part. It's possibly what it is. Like, it's probably some old crusty sergeant major when they wrote these rules was like, "Hey, put this in there, put common sense in there. Somebody in the room is going to be shaking his head, and that's the guy you got to talk to."
Exactly.
Like, somebody, what's the matter? That's a retarded plan. Like, like what? And so again, those of you watching the show, we're not judging these people. We're not judging you for saying that like the unvaccinated are hurting the vaccinated. We're not judging you for that. We just want you to come out here and explain it because it doesn't make sense. Now, if you could come on the show and tell us if you've ever been at a fender bender and you kept your car on the road and caused hundreds of people to be late for work, like, come on the show and explain why.
Maybe
Right.
that's the common sense thing. They were trying to help other people who didn't want to be at work.
Right.
They
So
figured 90% of those people would rather be chilling in their car.
exactly.
That would make
Exactly.
sense.
And we
I don't
should,
think that's-
well, see, we're talking about traffic. What was that? Fort Leonard Wood, where that guy was shooting people on the bridge? And then the one, it was like 3 or 4 years ago, wasn't it? Where some guy was like trying to shoot people, like he was an active shooter by like the gate. And an NCO just ran his ass over.
Yeah, well, you remember, well, you weren't,
Was that Leonard
I
Wood?
wasn't actually in the Army. You remember the Tau Stadium incident?
Oh, when they were shooting the guys on the track?
Yeah.
I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, well, the guy was there used to be, before they built those barracks there were a bunch of trees there, and this kid, like, I mean, he did actually use a little, some principles. He went out there the night before and dug himself a fighting position, like a hasty, and then that morning got to work early. Well, that was back in the day when you could go down in the arms room and just get your weapon.
Sure, why not,
He went down and got his weapon, had a bunch of rounds, went out there for PT. They had formation. He started wailing on people, and a bunch of dudes from, I think they were from 5th group, because when 5th group was still in, or no, maybe it was 7th. It must have been 7th. I think they were still in Bragg at the time.
Well, 5th group was still at Bragg then.
Yeah.
5th and 7th, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
they like ran up doing PT. They just ran up behind him and jumped on him, beat the shit out of him, took his gun. I mean, he still killed a couple people, but
Yeah. I remember one of the old timers
is like running away, and they're just like, I mean, we'll just go behind him in the woods. Anyway, beat the shit out of this guy.
Yeah, like Carlos Chilton told me. He was like, yeah, there used to be a bunch of trees right there. They took them all down. I was like, what for? Like, because somebody was laying there shooting people during PT. I was like, holy shit! Like, yeah.
And there was also a time where there was a guy on a water tower, and that also happened. I think.
Yeah.
That's why that was always the running joke was, these motherfuckers keep on. I'm climbing that water tower.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, so you know what? Maybe we should bring some cops on the show and be like, what is the dumbest stuff that you see drivers do? Because you got to blame the education, like the driver's ed. People who don't pull out turning left, when they have a green, like, why are they not pulling out?
People that don't know that you can turn right on red, unless there's a sign that says you can't.
No turn on red. So I actually ran into this, and my brother-in-law is a cop, and I asked him, I go,
are you punning me right now?
Huh?
You read into this? Are you?
Yeah.
Are you giving a pun?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It got me. Damn it. So I'm watching this guy, and it's actually an old lady, and I can see she's old, so I'm not getting mad. I'm not honking my horn. I'm this old lady.
I can't get mad. I'll get mad, and then when I go by and I see that it's like an older lady or older guy, I'm like, well.
Yeah, right. And so like they're not turning at this red light, and I'm sitting there, and then there's arrows for the other way. So this is like the best time to go. Yeah. Like nobody is going down this road.
Traffic literally can't come at you.
Yes, unless somebody does a U-turn, and then you have to yield to them, right? We all know these laws, right? Like so I'm sitting there, and I asked my brother-in-law, I go, is it illegal to do that? To just sit there? Because technically it's a red light. So I want to say by law, she doesn't have to go if she doesn't want to. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And he's like, I'm like, what would you do? He's like, well, I would pull her over still. And I was like, what for? He's like, I would just check to see if she's okay.
Yeah.
Well,
like, I mean, I can see pulling her over just to their job is to safety, to educate also. But you can turn right. Yeah. It's also not illegal to go through a parking lot in order to skip a red light. Most people think that it is. It's not.
Yeah. Why would they think that is? I do that all the time.
Yeah. Well, people think you can't do that. That's illegal. It's not illegal. You're entering and exiting private property. Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could be trespassing, But I mean, then you'd have to
They'd
follow.
they'd have to tell you first.
Exactly.
Like sexual harassment. They have to tell you no first, right?
Yeah, and then before we wrap up this episode of the fifth principle, like, it is driving. I could talk about some other driving things, like just like we talked about earlier, where common sense is different on our first show, depending on where you are in the country. So and then it's your responsibility, if you're there, to understand what is common here, right? In Wisconsin, where I'm from, it is very common for someone to go 5 miles an hour under the speed limit in the left lane, right? It's not a passing lane in Wisconsin. Like, even though everywhere else it is, like, no, you just know it's coming, right? So you don't even get mad about it, because it's just Wisconsin. Some old Polish lady in the car going 45, and it's like, no, you don't never have the long drive in Wisconsin, so it's like you'll get there, right? It's not that big of a deal. But as soon as you cross the border to Illinois and you get into Chicago, right? There's traffic jams that I've been in where I was going 75 miles an hour. I'm talking bumper to bumper, 75 miles an hour. Like, you do not fuck around in Chicago. Like, they are in a hurry. They got places to go. And if you're going 85 in the left lane, you have somebody flashing their lights, pissed at you. It's
dude,
like, I'm going 30 over, guy.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, we just I'm gonna caveat off of yours, and I feel like you're gonna love this one since you're from Wisconsin. You guys have snow. We just had a few days worth of snow and ice here in Tennessee and Kentucky, and it drives me nuts, like driving down the road in the snow and the ice, like, and I'll go 30, 40, what my dad always told me, in the ice and the snow, you just drive as fast as you want to wreck. Like, if you feel comfortable wrecking at 40 miles an hour, drive 40 miles an hour. But it never fails that some dude in a 4x4 will blow by going 20 miles over the speed limit on an icy road because he's in a 4x4 and he can get going that fast. It's like, hey, bro, great story that you're going that, like, that you can get up to that speed. But here's the problem. At some point, you have to stop. And your 4x4 doesn't have any more brakes than my car does. Like, in fact, mine's probably better because it's front wheel drive and it's super heavy there.
And 4-wheel drive has nothing to do with ice.
No, not even a little bit. Yeah. And instead of like using the manual function on your automatic transmission and downshifting so that your transmission slows you down, they slam on their brakes. Like, you fucking idiot. You're just going to lock it. You want to go bobsledding? That's what you're doing. Like, it's just common sense. And people are like, well, I don't know how to use the manual function on my car. You don't know how to use your car? That's what you're telling me? You don't know how to operate your vehicle.
Right. Just like you don't know how to use your laptop. Like, it's just something that we don't understand unless we read the manual.
Yeah. Then why are you driving? I don't understand how to use my laptop. That's fine. I don't do it every day. There you go. Boom. I know how to
you're not putting anyone else in
danger
danger
my
with your
laptop for what I need to use my laptop for. And it is in private.
So growing up in Wisconsin before analog brakes, same thing. We were always taught to pump the brakes.
Oh yeah, no, analog brakes, you just slam them.
Right, like, yeah, you just slam them, right? But no, it doesn't do any good to pump an analog brake. So
it's bad.
Exactly. So like, you have to understand your equipment. And I always tell people, like, when it's snowing out, I'll drive a little faster because I know how to drive in the snow. But if it's below freezing, okay, I am not driving fast at all. And then
especially if it's snowing and then it goes above freezing for an hour
and then drops below,
back down below freezing.
Yes. And then
because now you have a base of ice.
And now I got it. Some of the
Zamboni.
There's a lot of people that drive by that follow the fifth principle, that when they're driving over an overpass or under an underpass, and there's a sign that says ice is on overpasses, ice is on, and do people know why that happens? It's because it's off the ground. Okay.
And going in between. So
right. Yeah. And then it literally doesn't even have it doesn't have the warmth of the earth to keep it from freezing. And then, the underpass keeps it from the sun hitting it. Right. So like, when you go under an underpass, anybody who watches has ever driven in the snow before, or any type of icy conditions, when you go under a bridge, when you think there might be ice, you put two hands on the wheel and you do not change lanes. right? You just go through
You
the
don't give it
bridge.
any more gas, you
Yeah,
don't give it
yeah.
any less gas, and you don't hit the brakes.
Yeah, you just go
You
through, just go through.
You're just riding it. You're just riding it at that point. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, that's not common. That's common sense to me from Wisconsin, but it's not somebody from,
I'm not from Wisconsin. That's just common sense, I
yeah,
think.
right.
It's just
Well,
thinking about why and why
there's a
things
reason why they had to put a sign up there that says this ices when it's cold out. Like because idiots are just like, and then they fly off, and it's like, okay, see you later, bye bye.
Driving around the last probably week, then if you want to collect cars off the side of the road, I know a place you can go. Anywhere in Tennessee.
Yeah, there's some videos right now of them pileups where truckers are videotaping these idiots like just going 50.
Yeah. There were some truckers that I was just like, dude, you're the reason I don't really care that you're getting 110 years in prison, because you're driving like an idiot with a 80,000 pound vehicle.
That's another thing too, when you're on the interstate highway system. Okay. And you're on one of the major ones, like the 10 goes through El Paso, right? So this is, and we're in a border town, we're in a logistical town where things come up from the border and they get, dispersed throughout the country, fruit, whatever, and it's like these truckers don't care about you like whatsoever. And they're going to switch lanes, and you got to be ready for it. Like as a driver, like I'm on the 10 in El Paso. These truckers are just trying their hardest to get out of El Paso because it's too crowded there. And as soon as they can get on the 10 in New Mexico or Midland, Texas, where there's not much traffic, then they chill. But it's a war zone with trucks there. So you just kind of, you got to pay attention. But yeah, so enough of that. So I would love to hear some people's stories. So leave some comments on the thread that about the worst drivers and what. And the last thing that I want to talk about before we end this series is the Omicron.
Oh,
okay. And
I've heard from several different people that if you take Delta and Omicron and then switch around the letters, they all say different things. And if you just put Omicron in a different, it's moron.
Yeah, moronic.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah.
Forgot about the I. Yeah, because it's a conspiracy.
And then there is, and I told people this 2 years ago. I said the CDC is about 2 to 3 years behind on their death reports, right? And so right now the number is over 1 million people have COVID on their death certificate. Like that's true. Okay, now they're counting 2019 and 20. Okay, they're actually doing that now, and so far, it's not an accurate report yet, so don't quote me on it, but it's on the CDC website. You can go look at it. 75%, it's a huge number of the coronavirus deaths in 2019 in the world had 4 or more pre-existing conditions on their death certificate.
What?
Yes. And so
some of them probably had a pre-existing condition like bullet in the face.
Right, sure, whatever. And it's like, I asked these people who are, you can tell who's on Facebook for, they have political ideals or they want to control people. And it's like, you're only using this to control people. You're saying this so that you get people like give you praise. So you're doing this for that. All right. You're not an authentic leader. But I asked these people, I go, will you apologize in 2022 when the death reports come out? And it literally shows people dying of other things that just happen to have COVID. Like, are you going to apologize?
Right. No, not only that, they're doubling down on it. Like, did you see the thing with Sandra Day O'Connor that where she was, 100,000 kids are on ventilators? Like, nope, not.
No, they're not. Like,
first of all, how many 100,000? That's a lot of people to be on ventilators all at one point. Like, it's not a thing.
All right, and so again, we want a doctor. We want a doctor to come on the show, right, and explain to us why we should be worried about Omicron. Okay, I just want to know why.
Especially Omicron, considering it, we're still waiting for it to get here, and it doesn't.
Well, it's all this. Like I shared that on Facebook where it's got Will Smith pointing at the NyQuil bottle that is for runny nose, headaches, fever, and chills. it said the top 4 symptoms of Omicron: headache, runny nose, fever, chills. It's like, take NyQuil. like take NyQuil. It's a cold.
I feel like
right?
that, that guy that does he does the videos where people will do something stupid and then he does it like the common sense way. And he's like, I feel like that is basically a commercial for Omicron.
Right. And so again, like, we're here to help. Buddy and I, if you're watching, are here to help. And if there's anything that you don't understand, right, bring it up to us. Hit us up on Veteran Trash Talk, Big Girl at VeteranTrashTalk.com. We're still waiting for Buddy to create a page, so that he can have his own email address.
I'm also, by the way, I'm not. You said that like we have the answers. I'm not saying that we have the answers, but I'm willing to have it explained to me so that
right
with some common sense.
Right, but I'm also saying that we will let you know if it doesn't pass the 5th principle. Like, we will let you know if you're crazy or not. Like, if you come on here and say, "Am I crazy to think that if I go 150 miles an hour into a wall that I'm gonna live?" Yeah, you're kind of fucking crazy.
Yeah, you're
nuts. You're dumb.
Yeah,
like you're dead. Like, we'll tell you.
You should test that out.
It's like, or if you're 60 years old and you're 130 pounds overweight, and you have diabetes, and you go, "I shouldn't get the vaccine. Fuck that." I'm gonna be like, yeah, you probably should. You should get the flu shot too. Like,
the truth is, you know what the hard truth is, and you said this a long time ago. The hard truth is that you can get the vaccine if you want, or you can decide to take an active role in being healthier and go take a walk, go for a run, go outside, get some vitamin D, breathe some actual air that's not
right. Now, when you say that, the people who are power hungry and are to control people say like, "Oh, you're just like Trump. You just said that if you just go out and get sunlight, you'll cure coronavirus." No, motherfucker, we didn't say that. Trump didn't say that either. Like,
the same thing that Jim Carrey said about depression. Depression's real. There are medicines that help. But if you're not if you're not eating right, getting a little bit of exercise, doing the things that you need to do for your own mental sanity and your own mental health, and going out and taking a walk, exercising, doing all of the other stuff, like, you can take all the pills you want. It's not gonna cure what.
It's just gonna hide it. It's just gonna hide it.
Yeah, you're just going to be a zombie. You have to take an active role. And it's real easy. And that's the thing that's super annoying, and it doesn't make any sense to me is, well, I guess it does make sense because everybody wants the easy button. Everybody wants to just hit the button.
Well, no, that's you with common sense making it logical.
Yeah, well, if I just take this shot, then it's the same as I want 6-pack abs instead of doing dieting to the point that I'm below 8% body fat.
Not happening.
Doing a bunch of not even close.
Nope, I don't care anymore. Nope.
I don't got any. I'm not trying to impress anybody.
Well, the coronavirus gave me abs for a week.
Instead of doing that and a bunch of sit-ups, there's this thing on TV where I can fucking shock myself into fucking a 6-pack in 8 months. Cause I've done 20,000 sit-ups in the last 5 minutes. I'm sitting here going into fucking seizures and adding electricity to my body.
I got one of those machines for my back. When I can't walk, I put it on. Right. It's like, okay, I can feel my legs again. Okay, cool. Thanks.
But just turn that around and put it on your front. You'll have 6.
That'll be jacked. Yeah.
Nonsense.
Yeah, I'll say my piece here, and then I'll give you the last word for the show. So come up with a doozy. What we're talking about is another thing that just, it's perfect for the 5th principle to get a no-go with, at the time, Sergeant First Class Control as the RI, right? When K Fox 14 in El Paso came out with a tweet that said, ready for it? Breaking study says that if you are in good shape and exercise, you are less likely to have hospitalization due to COVID. breaking
I would like to go back to some of our conversations 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I would like to go back to some of our conversations 2 years. How much money did we spend on a study to find out that if you're a healthy person, you're less likely to get sick? Like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Well, they're trying to walk back the asymptomatic thing, because asymptomatic literally just means you're healthy, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you have the virus in you, but your immune system is kicking the shit out of it,
Yeah.
right? So like you're literally a healthy
you
person.
you currently have the cells for cancer in you.
Right.
Everyone does.
Everyone does. Yes.
And while you're healthy and your immune system and your T cells are fighting back the cancer, you're fine.
Yeah. Like when you eat a McDonald's cheeseburger, you're putting cancer in your body. There's all kinds of preservatives in that stuff that it's like not good for you. Right. And your body just fights it. Now,
well, it's not real. Yeah.
And then when you eat it all day, every day, then all of a sudden you die. Like it's like, yeah. So a breaking study, just so everybody knows we've solved it. A breaking study says that if you're in shape,
I would just like to get with whoever made those studies or is in charge of the study thing. Like, we'll take half. Like, just give us half and we'll tell you.
Yeah, at the end, we'll give you the logic.
Like, we'll just go through what you're trying to figure out. We'll use a little bit of common sense and some logic, and then we'll throw out an answer. And then you can pay however much money. And right, more often than not, then you don't have to do studies anymore. You'll
when you get into the Harvard of the Southeast, i.e. Austin P, when you get in there, right?
I thought it was Yale.
No, you said Harvard. Yale. I'm the Yale.
I am Harvard of the Southeast.
Yes,
Austin.
I'm the Yale of the Southwest. You're the Harvard of the Southeast. Let's not confuse the best football conference, the Ivy League. They have the most national titles, right? So like.
Correct. Dating back to 1737.
Benjamin Franklin has the first national title. I know we can't never
fucking.
I can never shut up, but just to go with this thing is like I'm watching National Geographic. I've said this. I think I said on the show. Watching the National Geographic channel years ago, and it's actually this big study on bears, and I'm really into it. Some grizzly bears, right? That got to climb over like the Kodiak Mountains, and then that's rough. How they make it is phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
So it turns out this study was actually to find out about bears' metabolisms, because they eat 40,000 calories a day, right? And they actually are one of the leanest meat, the grizzly bear, right? And they're like, how is it so lean? And it's like,
it stores all of its fat on the outside of the muscle.
Well, that too, they knew that, but they also were like, they're doing the study, right? Lots of money to study this, and I'm into it. This is a great documentary, and then the end just completely disappoints me. They're like, because it's the fifth principle. It's like, well, a grizzly bear actually travels up to 15 miles a day, and that's why it stays lean. You mean it fucking exercises? Do you mean if I walked 15 miles every day, I could probably eat 10,000 calories a day and never gain a pound?
Yeah, well, here's the difference. The grizzly bears aren't like getting into a group and be like, man, I really need to go to Planet Fitness. Like I feel like I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna do a half marathon today. That's just fucking living for them
every day.
Our ancestors also weren't fucking 500 pounds or 600 pounds. Like, there wasn't a show back in the 50s called My 600-Pound Life because it didn't fucking exist. There weren't people, because they had to actually go do things. Like, they couldn't just, it wasn't convenient to sit at their house and like DoorDash shit. Like, hey, can I get 80,000 calories worth of shit? But like, now we're getting to the point that, have you been to a fast food restaurant now? Like, everything is like combined into one like mush. We're gonna get to the point where we don't even have to like chew. Like, it's just like, you're gonna go to McDonald's and they're like, welcome to McDonald's, we've got these new Big Mac squirts, where they just like shoot a bag of shit into your mouth as you walk by, and they're like, there you go, you're fucking fed. You don't have to chew. It's just, it literally goes straight into your gut, out your butt. That could be their that could be their phrase. In your gut, out your butt.
That's it. That's hey, you better. I know I haven't seen any of the t-shirts you said you were making, but that's the next one. Write that down. Put that on your whiteboard.
Write it down. You know what? Hold on. Ooh,
yeah.
I'll just use a permanent marker.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Into your gut, out your butt. But yeah, I think that that about wraps it up there, Trash Talkers and Gruntworks Nation. So just remember, when it goes in your gut, it goes out your butt. If you that's what you got.
No chewing, no nothing.
But we'll see you guys next month until we pick up a sponsor. All right, and I'm working on somebody, but we pick up a sponsor, then we'll probably do this once a week because we'll get paid. But yeah, we'll. Let's
you know what? I'll even make a special deal for anybody that wants to sponsor that owns a company. You sponsor us, and we'll give you an hour of free common sense. Like we'll just throw it. You give us a problem that your company is having. We'll hit you with the common sense for a little bit.
Or your marriage. Right. Oh, we'll be marriage counselors. You know.
All right. I can give you some common sense, but
it might not work. But again, you're gonna get
I can tell you what
sense.
not to do.
Right. We're gonna be like, see where you said she was stupid, that was bad. Right. When you rolled your eyes when she asked how you looked, it doesn't matter what you say after that. Okay.
Yeah.
Like
but you were right. You're saying that you were right. That's cute. That's cute. You were right. How's that working out for you? Like, is it a good feeling being right?
Right. Oh, honey, is everything okay? Like, if you have to ask, you're just doing it for fun.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like,
what you really should be saying is, what did I do?
Or just leave.
What are you mad at me about right this
second? Or leave the room. Like, just leave the room.
Yeah.
Like,
one or the other.
Yeah. And then she'll come up and be like, why'd you leave? I just thought you were mad at me.
You know what? I wanted to give you your space.
Yeah, you're so beautiful.
I'm what we refer to as an empath, and I was just this vibe that I was getting was a real kind of maybe your Venus was in retrograde and the moon was kind of moving.
I think is it Mercury retrograde? I think it's Mercury.
Yeah, I was actually I don't know. Yeah. I was actually going. I was on my way to the kitchen to grab some sage. Because I was gonna
make
make you rid of the bad energy on you. I'm seeing an aura. It's an aura. It's orangey green. I don't even know what that means, but I was giving you some space. That's what I was doing.
All right. Well, Buddy's lost it. Hopefully he finds it by this Saturday. All right. We'll see you guys later.